Welcome to the Functional Esthetician Podcast. I'm your host, Samantha Dench. Today's special guest is Heather Ray, a licensed esthetician, founder, and CEO of LBH. We are going to talk about the skin barrier and clinical skincare versus over-the-counter products. We are also going to talk about children and tweens using skincare and the damaging effects it may have on their skin. Let me introduce Heather. Heather Ray is a licensed esthetician with over 2 decades of clinical experience, and she's the founder and CEO of LBH. After years in the treatment room working alongside leading physicians and skincare professionals, Heather observed a consistent truth. Skin thrives when it's supported rather than being overstimulated. LBH was founded in 2020 in response to an increasingly aggressive skincare culture driven by trends, excess actives, and misinformation. Her line is built on clinical restraint, intentional formulation, and respect for the skin's innate intelligence. Each product is designed to support the skin barrier function, complement in-office treatments, and promote long-term skin equilibrium rather than short-term correction. Heather is recognized for her calm, evidence-based approach to skincare education and her advocacy for responsible routines, particularly for younger skin. Through LBH, she continues to champion clarity over complexity, protocols over products, and longevity over immediacy. Hi, Heather. Welcome to the Functional Esthetician Podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about your background and how you got to where you are today?
So I've been an esthetician for over 27 years, and in that time, I've worked for a wide variety of med spas, doctor's offices, even as a solo practitioner. And at the end of the day, I struggled with my skin my entire career. And during COVID, we lost our patients, we lost our income, and I really vacillated with going back to school. Do I want to get out of this industry? Because I was so burnt out. And I just kind of had an epiphany, why don't I create one product, one SKU for myself selfishly? And that is my exfoliating mask. And from there, now I'm 5 SKUs in with many more in R&D. And it's just been a journey. It's been very fun and very gratifying. And I'm so grateful that, as odd as it sounds, that COVID happened, because it allowed me to remember why I came into the industry and reevaluate and shift my perspective.
Yeah, I love that. So tell me a little bit about your line. Like, what is the key focus of that?
Yeah, so for me, I need more exfoliation, and I need a different lipid profile than what is in most over-the-counter or prescription topicals or even prestige. So I stripped everything down. I went to basics, and I realized that, I tell a lot of my doctors that I speak with or estheticians, go into your retail space or your back bar and turn around your bottles and look at the ingredient profiles, and you're going to see that they're pretty much the exact same thing. You're just paying for marketing, different packaging, different fragrance. And I didn't want that. I didn't want to put my name on something that I couldn't stand behind that wasn't truly different. So what I focus on is a beautiful medley of AHAs. I have an EMH6 complex that is within 2 of my products. Another basically has it, but I also add salicylic acid to a rinse-off mask. And then I think probably the star as of late, and if not going forward, is my prickly pear seed oil. It's a very novel oil that people in the States don't really utilize, but overseas they do quite a bit. So I have a medical journal paper that we are submitting to journals, trying to just showcase the amazing benefits of it for everyday use. It's my serum and my moisturizer. I like to tell everybody, I'm 48. I don't have tinted SPF on. I don't have foundation on. This is just my skin. And that is what the core of my product line is meant to do. It's all about simplicity, stripping back those ingredients that we really don't need, that are superfluous, that are there for illusory benefits. I don't use silicones, oils, aside from the prickly pear seed oil, alcohols, fragrance, you name it. It's very, very pared down. It surpasses EU clean standards, which is very unique, I think, for a professional grade brand to be more on the sustainability front and clean. So, but yeah, that's it. Restoring skin regulation.
I love that. You mentioned exfoliation, and I want to talk a little bit about that because I feel like exfoliation gets a stigma in our industry. So why don't you talk a little bit about the benefits of exfoliating in your line?
So I don't like to do the typical form of exfoliation. I mean, I have patients who love to use a washcloth, so you're using a physical form, it can abrade the skin. If you're doing it multiple times a day, you're just destroying that skin barrier, which we're going to talk a lot about. And then also the chemical exfoliation. There are a lot of brands out there, and I've tried, I feel like every single one of them, where you're utilizing a peel pad or a toner, but they're putting I'll say unique ingredient profiles in there and then combining them with stripping alcohols, because there's this antiquated notion that you need to strip the skin with an alcohol prior to utilizing an acid for it to work better. And it's just simply not the case. So I like to take my formulations, focus on a really low pH, because that's where you get the benefits. That's where you get the penetration, not from stripping the skin with alcohols or, in some odd cases, like apple cider vinegar. So I wanted my EMH6 complex, which stands for exfoliating, moisturizing, and hydrating, and it's only 6 ingredients, but those 6 together help foster a healthy microbiome because of that low pH. They facilitate a more stable exfoliation that doesn't strip the skin or prevent skin barrier function from being at its top. But yeah, it's really about just gentle exfoliation. And for me, that comes through the AHA cleanser. So I use that morning and evening. It's just a gentle, low pH wash. And then I also have the exfoliating toner, which I personally use every other night. I have patients and clients who use it every night, but for my skin type, every other night. And then I utilize the oil just to restore those lipids that are lost. And that's, again, at a low pH. Everything as a 5.5 or below.
All right, let's get into the skin barrier because I know that's the key that we're here for. So the skin barrier, it's a living regulatory system, and most persistent skin issues are not deficiencies, but they're responses to chronic disruptions. So let's dig into that.
Yeah, I just had that post. So what I have found in my career with my patients coming in, including myself, I'm patient number 1, is chronic redness, inflammation, breakouts that you can't really explain, and chronic flakiness, but yet you're still oily. There's so much skin imbalance. And one, it can come from not proper pH formulations, I should say. Most cleansers are formulated at a 7 or above. And I think keeping that true low pH, not just saying it as a marketing slogan, but actually formulation at that level really helps to start your skincare regimen off on the right foot. But then also that proper exfoliation, because whenever you do exfoliate, your skin needs it. We need more exfoliation than we realize, but it has to be done in the right way. And when it is, you can actually help restore skin barrier function, because that's a part of a regulation process. So if you're not exfoliating, you're getting an accumulation of dead cells, which can turn into inflammatory issues down the road. So I think for me, fostering a healthy microbiome making sure that our lipid profiles are correct for our skin types. Like for myself, I am acne prone. I am, a closed comedone girl all day long, blackheads, you name it. And if I go to a heavy oleic acid moisturizer, like most, if they're formulated with coconut oils or derivatives, olive oil derivatives, palm oil derivatives, within 24 to 48 hours, I'm covered. And I feel like that's deleterious to our skin barrier function as well. It's really about gentle cleansing, proper exfoliation, and the right lipid profile. And then you're going to have a healthy barrier. But we overstrip, we over moisturize. There is such a thing as over layering. We've got these multi-step lines, 17 SKUs, and you've got 3 serums and 2 moisturizers, and your skin will become dysregulated just from that layering of inappropriate hydration. It's a very unique ecosystem that I personally need to learn even more about. I just know the tippy top of it.
And it's true. Like a lot of us think, oh, we have this issue. So then we throw more product at it, or we run out and we mix different products and different ingredients and layer stuff on. And it creates a host of problems.
Absolutely. I think one of my favorite sayings that I have is there is complexity in simplicity. We always think that more is better, or, oh my gosh, I have a breakout. Let me grab that, 10% benzoyl peroxide or what have you. And you're actually causing more issues than you realize, or you have a teenager with acne and you run out and you grab certain brands that are really high in stripping alcohols and these oleic acid heavy laden moisturizers, and you're wondering, well, why is their skin dry and irritated but they're still breaking out? And it's this vicious cycle.
I call it attacking the skin.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Let's talk about skin trends.
Oh goodness. Where to begin? I actually just wrote a post on LinkedIn about this. I really struggle, and honestly, that's where my name came from for the brand LBH, because my clients come to me, they lay down on the table, we're talking, I'm like, okay, so I just watched this TikTok and she told me, and immediately I calmly, let's be honest. And my thing is, you're just buying the same thing in different packaging, like we talked about earlier.
Yep.
And as a consumer myself, I get that spiral. I get that black hole of, going through TikTok and seeing an influencer who has stunning skin and you want that glow. And if she's using it, it's going to work for me. And that's, I just wish patients and myself, it took a long time to train myself to have more discernment, to stop and slow the noise down and do my homework. Mm-hmm. That's my biggest thing when it comes to trends. There are so many trends out there. I was just having a conversation with a derm yesterday about it. And all the derms that I talk to are pulling their hair out too, because our patients are trusting, I feel like they're trusting these influencers and other sources that aren't as credible, that are being paid by companies, that are at times misleading, and whether or not they intend to, that's what ends up being the case. So, in creating LBH, I really wanted to bring the patient and the client back to skincare professionals. Let us help you. Let us talk to you about these. If you're interested in one of these, bring it up to us. Let us walk through the science with you so that you're not just hitting purchase and creating this cascade of issues down the road that then we have to remedy. But oil slugging, coating your in Aquaphor, what have you. Oh my gosh, what are the glass skin, all of that. Now I think there's a new one. I'm trying to remember what the term is, but it's the new glass.
The cycling one.
Maybe, yeah. And I'm like, guys, I get it. I want to have stunning, gorgeous skin too. I'm an esthetician. I'm in the industry. I kind of have to by default. But, let's stop. I mean, I don't even care if my patients, I'm like, put it in chat GPT, take their formulation of that, which sometimes is really hard to find, but look up that product's ingredient deck, copy it, pop it into chat, and ask, here's what they're saying. Is this true? Is there any relevance to this? Is this something that would even be good for my skin? And I think being able to have that combined with your skincare professional, it's your best alternative. Because otherwise, we're all going to be following the trends.
Right. And
What's your
sometimes I
favorite one
feel,
right now? Sorry, cut you off.
um, I haven't been on TikTok in a while, so
Same.
I had to stop because I'm like, I don't even want to know what's going on right now.
No, because it's infuriating. I mean, for
Yeah,
me, I'm not really a social media person. I'm on there because I have to be for
same.
business, but it's not
Yeah,
really my thing. But
right.
yeah, if I'm on there answering responses in DMs and then I get sucked into that scroll,
Yeah,
oh my gosh, I'm like,
I know.
this is what? I get so incensed.
Yeah,
So, but
I know.
yeah.
I also feel like there's like a level of disrespect in our industry now because everyone's following these influencers. And I'll make a recommendation to a client and they're like, well, that's not what TikTok said. And I look
Mhm.
at them and I think to myself, I'm like, I've been doing this over 20 years. You're going to question me? So
Yeah.
it's actually crazy.
It is. It's very disheartening. And it's been happening for years at
Right.
this point. But yeah, same thing. You're like, I've spent my career, my life
Mhm.
dedicated to trying to be able to answer these questions thoughtfully, honestly, respectfully. I mean, I'm the esthetician that the plastic surgeon that I work for here in Dallas, I'm sure gets annoyed with me. But if we don't have on the shelf what I truly think will benefit your skin, I'll send you elsewhere. It's not
Right.
like it has to be on our shelf because I'm worried about the end of the day, my commission check. It's truly about my patients' health, safety, what's going to get them to clinical endpoint. And I worry that that is not the same feeling on the other side of it.
Right. So your line, LBH, it was created from decades of clinical observation that the skin improves most consistently when routines are simplified and the barrier is allowed to self-regulate.
Yes, that is it.
Yeah.
It takes me a while to get to that very simple line, but yes,
Right.
that's the gist of it. I
Yeah.
spent oh my gosh, over 2 years formulating the mask, almost 3 years formulating the exfoliating toner and the wash to get it just right, to not white label, to actually,
Right.
I own my formulations. They come out of this crazy brain. I have an independent formulator who helps me with the percentages and to make sure that, I'm not totally off kilter with it. And then we manufacture here in the US. But it really is about simplicity. It
Right.
doesn't take a counter full of products to achieve the skin that you've always wanted. And I think there's so many things misleading us as consumers down the road, thinking that we need,
Yeah.
3 serums and 2 different eye creams and a day cream and a night cream. But really, at the end of the day, and I'm sure I'm going to ruffle some feathers, that really just comes down to revenue for these companies. They
Yeah.
have to keep generating out new products to get you to come back, to get you to keep purchasing.
Right.
And, it's some of these big companies, they own most of the skincare brands. I won't
Right.
name names,
Yeah.
it's a little bit of a monopoly. And
Right.
so for little guys, it's an uphill battle. I don't have those millions, if not billions of dollars behind me to educate, to promote, to push. I don't even run ads. I want everything to be very word of mouth, slow organic growth, and that goes back to the name LBH. Let's be honest. I'm not being honest if I'm using influencers to promote my products. I'm not being honest if I'm using slogans that could be misinterpreted, or get flagged easily. So everything is named what it is. AHA cleanser, exfoliating toner. I don't mince words. I try to keep everything very direct, very simple, and more on the clinical side. But I did want to bridge the gap with professional skincare. I feel like we have so many lines with multiple SKUs. And here's an acne line, here's a fine line. It's easy to go down that path. But when I was formulating, I quickly realized that my skin performed at its peak when I had a simple low pH cleanser, my exfoliating toner. Once a week, I'll swap it out for the mask if I'm feeling like I have some texture, a little bit of clogging down here, depending on the time of the year. And then I put on the oil, and literally that's it. And it's been that way for over 3 years now. And I've had countless patients come in who were on these regimens, who are, coming from other estheticians, other derms, and they've tried everything just like I did. And when we switch and put them on this simple 3-step routine, their skin transforms. And so it's been great to be able to beta test it. And it's not just a me. I promise it works. It's
Right.
So many. My 10-year-old, she uses it. I've got women in their 70s. Well, actually, I've got a man, or 10 in their 70s. It runs the gamut because it really comes back to skin health and function. When you can get the skin to homeostasis and get it to its natural state of regulation, it's amazing what your skin can do.
Yeah.
It's a really incredible organ.
Yeah, it really is. So where are your products sold? Are they mostly sold in plastic surgeon or dermatologist offices?
It's skincare professionals, so estheticians can have it as well. I can't count us out,
Right.
But yes, same thing for some of the other medical grade brands, although I don't really like to use that term, professional grade. But yes, med spas, dermatologists, plastic surgeons offices, and then I also have a website, but that's more of a landing page for people to learn. I don't really promote it, as I said previously. I really want people to go purchase in person so that they can get that one-on-one education that should come with skincare from a professional.
I love that. You've also said that clinical skincare differs from over-the-counter products, which we've been talking about, because it's designed for continuity of care and long-term function rather than speed, novelty, or shelf appeal.
Exactly. For me, I think being in the professional arena, I see a stark difference. I know there's an argument that there is no difference, but I can tell you personally, the way that I formulate and what I have created is vastly different than what I have seen on the shelves. And that's why I put it out. So for me to imagine my products at the high percentage of actives that they have, if there was no education behind it, if there was nobody guiding you that had professional experience, not retail sales experience, the outcomes would be vastly different. And I would be quite concerned. So for me, not discounting people in those establishments, but they don't typically have the background that we do. They don't typically have the extensive knowledge that we do, and they're having to cover so many brands. You can only know so much about each one. So that's one was, yes, I think there is a vast difference because you have to formulate differently to be on a mass market shelf. There's a difference in active levels. So there's that. But then, yes, I think when you look at the formulation difference and the percentages of actives, the percentages of issues that can come up, when utilized incorrectly without guidance, I think that's where there's that strong difference between the two. I believe, just my line personally, I can't speak to the others. I don't know the percentages of some of my competitors, actives, but I know mine. And it could not be on a mass market shelf. I would
Yeah.
not feel comfortable with that.
And I think actives too. People hear that term and they think, it's on the label, like infused with vitamin C for brightening or hyaluronic acid for hydration. And I think consumers look at those terms and they're like, oh, I need this because it's got that marketing buzz to it. When in reality, it's like it's all about the percentage of the active ingredient itself.
Yeah, as I like to say, is it a true active that is
Right.
going to be active in the formula, or is it a fairy dusting of the
Right.
ingredient? And I know people know, looking at the formulation deck, if you're at the top in the top five, that's the bulk of what you're getting. And from there, it varies. And also, some things you don't need a massive amount in a product to give you those results.
Right.
It could be lower in the formulation if it's a really potent active. But, if you're seeing vitamin C at the very bottom, but then also, I mean, we could talk about vitamin C all day too.
Right.
What form of
We could.
vitamin C? How is
Yep.
it housed?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, people
Yeah.
don't realize that there are so many variations, and it can be really deleterious to your skin
Yeah.
if not formulated correctly and used correctly.
And speaking of actives, I want to shift gears and talk about kids and tweens using corrective skincare.
As the mom of
Here
a
we go
10
down
year
this rabbit hole, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as the mom of a 10-year-old, I look this way because I actually homeschool her. So it's luckily she doesn't have social media, and that helps immensely. But I have nieces who do. And their skincare regimens, despite having me as a soundboard, are extensive. And, it's really difficult to walk down the aisles of, say, Target with my child, and it looks like candy. It's so
Oh yeah.
cute.
Oh
I
yeah.
get it. It's precious. They did a great job on their
Oh,
packaging.
absolutely.
Children's skin is thinner, it's more permeable, and it's already turning over typically at its optimal rate. So, really, I think what kids need, it kind of goes back to LBH. Kids just need gentle cleansing, they don't need an active cleanser. Then you go to a gentle moisturizer that's not too heavy. They don't need a heavy, occlusive, jar moisturizer. They can just do a lightweight, milky, and then they need some protection. Now, when they start breaking out and we start seeing acne vulgaris or what have you, then maybe we can bring in a derm if the topicals aren't working. But even then, I still don't recommend to my patients to go grab your typical acne wash because they're very stripping. They don't nurture your skin barrier. So you already set off that inflammation cascade. And then you pile on all these actives that irritate and harden the follicular rim, making it difficult to excrete the sebum. There are so many things. And then, if it gets too inflamed, they go to the derm and they get Accutane because that's
Right.
the first thing that gets prescribed.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then, I mean, does it work? Absolutely. I took it when I was
Right.
16. I'm not saying I didn't know better, and I had a derm and an esthetician guide me down that path. But had I known to not use dial soap for my face wash, just use a gentle cleanser. And actually, it comes back to hygiene a lot of times. How
Yeah.
often are they washing their face? And then is that face wash gentle? But children don't need actives.
No.
And I see it time and again, because again, I can see these in my personal life. I'm like, what are you doing with two different cleansers? And why do you have a vitamin C serum and a hyaluronic serum and a moisturizer? And I love that you have SPF, but let's go back to these middle steps and tell me why. And sometimes maybe it's not being utilized every day, but I mean, a lot of these kids, they have YouTube channels and they're going through their
Yep.
10 steps
I
every
know.
day, and it's
Yeah.
very disconcerting.
I agree. I have a 13-year-old daughter and same thing. It's like
No.
she knows better, but I go to, her friends come over and they're like, "Can I use this? Can I use this?" Or they bring like all their skincare. I'm like, "Please don't. Please
Yeah.
don't."
Yeah, my favorite is we had a sleepover birthday party recently at a friend's, and they showed up and there were all those inexpensive scented masks,
Oh, yes.
the sheet masks, and I was
Mhm.
like, "Ugh,
You're
I don't
cringing.
want to do that,
Please,
Mom."
you want
So
to see
yeah, I let it go.
that?
But it's, yeah, I mean, heavy fragrance,
Hmm.
chemical profiles that
Right,
their skin doesn't need. They don't have thinner adult skin. They
right.
have a different skin than we do,
Yep.
and we assume that it's the same. They're just mini versions of us, and they're not.
Yeah.
So,
I love that. That's a good way to put it.
yeah, it's just but that's not something that's talked about. There's not enough
Right,
education behind it. It's more
right.
marketing behind it. At the end of the day, there are investors that you have to answer to that are
Yep.
trying to get that revenue. They just want to know what's coming out next and how much am I going to make.
Yep.
And unfortunately, some of these lines, maybe they started out as a children's skincare line with the best intentions, but eventually you're going to have to start introducing new SKUs. And how do you separate? Well, no, this one is only for kids. These three, stay
Right,
away from those. You can't.
right.
And yeah, so it's a slippery slope.
Heather, thank you for being here today.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Is there anything you want to leave our audience with?
I think going back to being your own patient advocate and doing your research, be discerning, ask questions. Don't just hit that purchase button. Really take your time and do the research to make sure that it's appropriate for you and that you're not being misled. That's the main thing. Restore that skin barrier.
Right.
Simplicity is key.
Yeah, I love that. So, where can our listeners find you?
You can find me at lbhskincare.com.
Okay.
There are links to the blog posts on there. I also have links to the social media pages, which is just LBH Skincare. And then on LinkedIn, it's my name, Heather Ray.
Okay. And I'll drop those links in the show notes so they can connect with you.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. We'll talk soon.
Thank you for listening. Today we had on our special guest, Heather Ray. We were talking about the skin barrier and clinical skincare compared to over-the-counter brands. She also shared the dangers of children and tweens using skincare products not designed for their skin. Be sure to tune in next Tuesday to episode 21. We will be talking about functional aesthetics, conventional versus functional medicine, and how years of ignoring signs can lead to your health problems. You don't want to miss it. And always remember, you deserve to love the skin you're in.